Once upon a midnight dreary, while I rested weak and weary, from the quest that nearly saw me slain some 7 weeks before. South America, the locus. I had guides, but they lost focus. Fueled by fears of hocus pocus, they ran off, scared to the core. Just Barranca and Satipo stayed on to comprise my core. Now my team was 3, no more. As I merged my map together, someone's pistol left its leather. Hammer clicked, and round I reeled to wield the wicked whip I wore. At Barranca, whip uncoiled. Just like that, his heist was foiled. I was just a little roiled, nothing I've not seen before. Onward to the cave to claim the curio I came here for. Past that pitfall, on to more. At the cave, Satipo wavered, praying, pleading. "Please," he quavered. Forrestal had found the cave, but cashed in back some time before. Inside sat the golden idol, where avoiding light was vital. Maybe I seemed suicidal, I'll admit I am hardcore. When I whisked the idol up, the temple tremored to its core. We can't stay here anymore. Deadly darts dogged my escaping. First across the chasm gaping, old Satipo swindled me and uttered, "Adios, senor." Jumping over wasn't easy, but the next part made me queasy. Found Satipo all Swiss cheesy, skewered through from head to floor, saying, "Adios, stupito," picked my prize up off the floor. That vile villain was no more. With a glance over my shoulder, I beheld a rolling boulder. Through thick cobwebs, out the cave, I tumbled to the jungle floor. I'd escaped with my objective, but my feats proved ineffective. Cornered by a large collective of Evitos, armed for war. Dozens of indigenous Peruvians prepared for war. Nasty natives. Now what more? First that rat Barranca popped up. In truth, he was only propped up. Dead as dirt, a dermis full of blow darts was the skin he wore. Then came forth that filthy Frenchman, stepping past his hoodwinked henchman. Belloc caused my teeth to clench when he claimed my beloved score. Belloc 1 and Indy 0. What a too familiar score. I lit out, not lingering more. Belloc bade them all to waste me. Laughter echoed as they chased me. I ran to the river where Jock's plane was waiting just offshore. I climbed on, and we went flying. I found something horrifying. In my lap was Reggie lying. What the hell's a snake here for? Since my scout days, snakes remain the single thing I don't care for. Not a thing that I hate more. Back to teach at Marshall College, I showed off my ancient knowledge, writing Neolithic like I'd never spelled the word before. Lots of ladies loved yours truly. I preferred to play it coolly, lest the coeds got unruly, breaking down my office door. In mid-lecture, Marcus Brody breezed in through my classroom door. That's the bell, class. Nothing more. We met 2 men from the army. One of them was sorta smarmy. Nazis were in Tanis and the Ark was what they're looking for. Abner was the man to track down. We could not sit by and back down, or the Germans put the smackdown on the world in global war. If they were invincible, the Wehrmacht would, well, own that war. Evil reign forevermore. At my manse, my head still spinning, my man Marcus showed up grinning.
They want you to go for it.
And there it was, what I'd wished for. In a sec, I started packing. Gun for firing, whip for cracking. Next I knew, my nerves were racking. Oh, that girl from years before. Searching for the Ark was much more major than mistakes before, Marcus said, then said no more. Climbed aboard the Pan Am Clipper. I was feeling cheerful, chipper, ignorant of a brute abaft who'd boarded back some time before. Was it Tote or Dennis Mirren, or perhaps a pale Honduran? Anyway, I soon was sure in sleep mode when they shut the door. This was 1936, so 8 days travel door to door. No, it was 9. Or more. In Nepal, the drink was flowing. Marion was surely showing tolerance to shots of hooch that put an Aussie on the floor. Acting like a studly stallion, I asked her for her medallion. She deemed me a rude rapscallion, and her right cut left me sore. How was I to know that after all this time she'd be so sore? No more games. Not anymore. While I sulked and stroked my jawline, someone said,
Good evening, Fräulein.
Marion looked up to glimpse a gang of goons that numbered 4. She told Tout that she was closing, but his hoods were too imposing, so in spite of her opposing, they came in and shut the door. After I had left from there, she probably should have locked the door. Good thing I came back for more. They were just about to brand her. I yelled at them to unhand her. Bullets blasted everything while flames ignited the decor. Blood and broken bottles streaming. Coat got scorched and scampered screaming. Marion had schooled me, scheming. She had what I'd hiked here for. And I got a pushy partner. That's not what I signed up for. Trips to Asia, nevermore. After all those guns and pyro, we met with my mate in Cairo. Sala said the sight at Tanis was like nothing seen before. Now with Belloc regulating all the Germans excavating, it was time for text translating of the headpiece, quite a chore. Sala said, perhaps a man I know can help us with that chore. Nothing else would help me more. Out to shop for dates and carobs. We were ambushed by some Arabs. Battled back, but then the tide turned, got split up, and off we tore. While she wielded pan for frying, my fight was intensifying. With a giant swordsman eyeing me with malice, bent on gore. Luckily, just shooting him sidestepped a scene of gruesome gore. Guns beat swords forevermore. Marion hid in a basket. Looked like that would be her casket. When the truck I shot at crashed and went kablooey with a roar. Soaked my sorrows with her monkey. feeling guilty, feeling funky. Then approached a German flunky. Follow me, he did implore. Long as I could keep my bottle, no more did he need implore. I was fried, I'd fight no more. In the bar sat Balak waiting, nasty, dirty, denigrating, saying we were much alike. Oh, that French son of a whore. But he bared a bold confession, for the Fuhrer took possession. He had plans for his obsession, something else he'd use it for. A transmitter made to speak to God was what the Ark was for. That was it. I'd hear no more. Want to talk to God? I blustered. Arabs all around me mustered. Salah's kids came crashing in and promptly pulled me out the door. Salah was just way too cheerful, telling me not to be tearful. I was set to swear an earful, till he said he'd made a score. We would leave and see an old imam who really knew the score. Hopefully he'd tell us more.
Come, sit down,
the old man uttered. Craving clues, my ticker fluttered. Balak's staff was incorrect. He'd picked the wrong place to explore. Grabbed a date in celebration, but our frolic found frustration. Victim of assassination, one dead monkey on the floor. Without Salah, that would be my stone-cold carcass on the floor. I should hang with that guy more. Midst the massive excavation, we prowled past an altercation. Balak and the German Colonel Dietrich clearly lacked rapport. In the map room undetected, with a staff the size corrected, I stared as the sun projected through the headpiece to the floor. There, the Ark's real resting place, positioned on the map room floor. Once thought lost, forevermore. Out the hole, the heat got hotter when some soldiers wanted water. I pushed past as Salah smartly occupied the German core. In a tent, I stood astounded. Marion sat gagged and bounded. With a kiss, I fled. Confounded.
Are you crazy?
She did roar. If she suddenly was gone, I knew there'd be a big uproar. I would use my stealth some more. Next I started some surveying. That's it, I heard myself saying, when I focused fully on the flat top of an untouched tor. Balak bickered more with Germans, truly tired of his sermons. Then the coal-clad king of vermin's tote showed, with the scar he wore. That explained the imprint of the piece that Marion once wore. Mystery solved, but there was more. After doing my decryptions, I took with me 10 Egyptians, led by Salah to the spot, the site I'd searched for hours before. Whistled, and the dig got going. Warm Saharan wind was blowing, set against the sunset glowing, ditching the disguise I wore. Feeling first-rate back in the fedora that I always wore. I should go to Egypt more. Into darkness, diggers toiling. All around us, storm clouds roiling. Suddenly, their shovels sharply struck what surely was the door. Peering from the elevation, once again came consternation. Rattled by the revelation, snakes obscured the chamber's floor. Slews and slews of slimy serpents slithering across the floor. 7,000, maybe more. While I eyed Egyptian letters, Marion was still in fetters. Belloc kept her under guard, but gave her grub to fill her core. She dressed up like Betty Grable. Spirits from his family label made their way onto the table, after which she said,
"You pour."
By and by, this bit of boozing got him blotto, as she'd pour. She could swig a lot more. Horrid hoods of cobras flaring, statues of Anubis staring. Boy, the Well of Souls was something. Shishak really knew decor. There the Ark was, in its glory, just like in the Bible story. I was in new territory, facing famous fabled lore. Surely this went way beyond some worn-out words of old folklore. Surely this was something more. Marion got Belloc plastered. Tried to take flight, but that bastard tote turned up and used his nunchucks, hanging up the coat he wore. By the morn, the Ark was raided, carried out and gently crated. Belloc woke a bit belated, spotting us atop the tor.
Wake your men!
He howled at Diedrich. To our sight the Germans tore. They would need to dig no more. With the Ark at long last lifted, my elation shortly shifted when I heard,
Hello!
From Belloc. Shocked he didn't say bonjour. He took almost all my treasure, all but one, to his displeasure. They threw her in for good measure, right down through the ceiling door. They left me and Marion inside the well, and shut the door, sealed in tight forevermore. With our hopes and torches dying, I dared something death-defying. I scaled up a statue, sent it toppling. Hey, a brand new door. One more sacred desecration had supplied my sweet salvation. Meanwhile, in a near location, stuffed with stuff from years of yore, Marion was mortified by mummies of the dead of yore. Like they wished to add one more. Out a hole whence sun was seeping, past a guard who slumped there sleeping, we beheld an airfield where a flying wing was set to soar. This was the Ark's transportation. I mused on a machination. We'd sneak on for embarkation with the booty that it bore. Such a simple scheme it seemed, but blasted, that would be a bore. I would need to scrap some more. Tricky tactics soon turned manic when emerged a mean mechanic. Man, I swear that he was slightly bigger than a dinosaur. He was one large luckless feller when his face found that propeller. But when things seemed rather stellar, fate had something else in store. Marion shot down 9 Nazis, but blew up the ammo store. Oh, my brilliant plans. No more. She sat stuck where she'd been gunning. I freed her and we went running. Fuel and fumes and flames combined and all exploded with a roar. With disorder soon subsiding, Sala sighted us in hiding. Quickly then he was confiding, not what I was wishing for. Now the Ark was on a truck, in Cairo it was headed for. I could hardly do much more. Hopped a horse and rode off racing, toward the convoy I was chasing. Jumped a truck that took the Ark and rushed in through the right side door. Grabbed the guys and tossed them tumbling, one by one. Their defense crumbling. At the wheel I revved it, rumbling. Till a Luger led to gore. One shot to my shoulder. Left the window wet with garnet gore. Cripes, I couldn't take much more. Sucked it up and sent dude sailing. But another swooped in wailing, whacking at my wounded wing. If I'd survived this, I'd be sore. Slung me out the windshield sprawling. But my whip saved me from falling. Off the road, I came back crawling. Then I evened up the score. I pumped Belloc off the road. And at long last, reclaimed my score. Chasing done, forevermore. Needing shower, shave, and barber, we met Sala at the harbor. There the Ark was brought aboard, and we were set to sail from shore. Marion said bye with kisses for him, his kids, and his missus. Oh, Katanga cast his disses at me in the rags I wore. After all that chaos, I was catching crap for what I wore. Just for laughs, though, nothing more. Traveling with our tough transporters, cooling in Katanga's quarters. Marion made like a nurse, but go away, I did implore. She just wouldn't be frustrated. For I knew we osculated. Things were gonna get R-rated. That's when I began to snore. Holy hell, here I was waving whoopee just to have a snore. I just had to sleep some more. I stirred sometime in the morning. Engine stopping was a warning. On the briny, I beheld a U-boat. Holy shit, I swore. Marion and Ark were taken, and my spirit sure was shaken. Fishing for me was forsaken when they had what they'd come for. Once Katanga said he'd killed me, they stopped searching aften for, thinking me a threat no more. I swam to the sub, so weary. Saw Katanga's crew get cheery. I hoped that I wouldn't need impersonate a Commodore. What I did next I've forgotten. Must admit my memory's rotten. By some charm a chance was boughten when I rowed that boat ashore. Luckily the sub did not submerge before it got to shore. I got soaked, but nothing more. In a cave that sea eroded, I observed the Ark unloaded. I KO'd a couple guards to get the uniforms they wore. While I walked around there blending as a German grunt pretending, Dietrich wasn't comprehending what this Jewish rite was for. Belloc said he'd prove the Ark was what they all were wishing for. He said nothing furthermore. Belloc marched them through the canyon, Marion as his companion. Bound in black, tote-toweled his head as sweat oozed out his every pore. Musta smoked a big ol' hookah, 'cause I grabbed a big bazooka. Nuked the Ark? No, turned palooka, like 100 times before. Belloc bade me back down then, and beat me like he had before. I would chase the Ark no more. We were tied up to a column. Nearby, Belloc chanted solemn. He had dressed himself up like a high priest from forgotten lore. Once he finally had blustered, round the open Ark they clustered. Belloc held his hand out, flustered. From it only sand would pour. Dietrich just got pissed as punch, while out a toad a laugh did pour. We thought there was nothing more. Suddenly there woke a wailing, kinda like a fan belt failing. Holy heavens, hell broke loose as ghastly ghosts began to soar. Bursting heads and melting faces. So much for the master races. Hardly leaving any traces, Yahweh smote them with a roar. Down the lid fell from the sky. And silence followed the uproar. Just we two were left, no more. On to Washington we traveled, mysteries of the Ark unraveled. They screwed me and Marcus over. It was not ours to explore. Bureaucratic fools, I grumbled. I was feeling fairly humbled. But my heart had not all crumbled. Marion you can't ignore. She proposed procuring drinks. The army guys I would ignore. She and I would hang some more. And the Ark, now not transmitting, still is sitting in a massive, musty warehouse with whatever else they store. In a wooden box it's nesting, never undergoing testing. This the crate it sits in resting, throwing shadows on the floor. And the Ark, within that storage, somewhere on that warehouse floor, shall be opened nevermore.